Hey,
to check beforehand, just make sure it's there.
we're ready to go. I'm George Sleeman, Vice Chairman of the Bennington School District Board. The chairman is home recuperating from successful surgery, so we'll go ahead and start. I'd like to take citizens' comments first, and then I'd like the board to see if they would vote to go into a short executive session on a legal matter. So, are there any citizens' comments? And if so, we'll listen to them right now. No citizen comments. Okay, in that case, could I get a motion to go into a short executive session on a legal matter?
So moved.
Someone second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll be back very short.
We were going.
Where are we going to meet? Manager's report. Yes, you're on.
Hello. I apologize for not being able to make it last month. It was tight when meetings are the very first of the month and I can't get my statements in time, so I'm a little bit behind schedule here. So just wanted to let you know that we have received our last influxes of big dollars. State aid and the sped monies came in. We received the balance of our property tax collection last month. So pretty much what you see here is what we have. We do have this tax anticipation note, which is going to be paid back at the end of June. And on the flip side of that, you can see I have an investment account that has ample funds to cover that payment. So once that wipes out, 2.7 million, we're pretty much where we normally would be this time of the year. Thankfully, with the budget passing last night, I will be preparing my tax anticipation note borrowing for next fiscal, so I'll hopefully have bids back and have that to you guys for approval at the next meeting.
Any questions or comments from board members pertaining to the treasurer's report?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Or C. Yep, but say that you'd like to take up,
Okay.
remove that.
Okay, we're going to go to 4C on, okay,
Agenda.
BSD treasurer enclosed. Renee?
Your resignation.
Okay. Do we want to start with Joy?
Well, we'll just say to those viewing that the resignation was tabled at their last meeting because there were questions about internal controls. And Joy Cox, who's the HR director, who supervises the position of HR manager, which your current treasurer holds, and she's resigning from treasurer. So this is to answer those questions. So Joy is here to answer any questions.
Okay, Joy, go ahead.
Well, I'm here really to answer any questions that you have about internal controls and how we
So-
handle that.
At the last meeting, it sounded like Rick was there, you couldn't make it at that meeting. It sounded like everybody was in support of possibly, if we take the resignation, but allowing it to last through till the March election. But with doing that, it was going to require some internal controls as well as duties shifted either to yourself or other staff, and I just wanted to hear from you what that impact actually was.
Sure.
Before if we agreed to going into that, to know if we're putting an anchor around your legs within your
No,
department.
absolutely. So let me specify that our system, our computer system has two different levels of security. The first level of security is at the user control level, and we have the ability to sort of lock down certain functions by employing district. Those functions, we can lock them down by function, but we cannot lock them down by individual employee, meaning if somebody has access to make salary changes in BSD, then they have the access to make salary changes to any employee of BSD, including the treasurer, who is an employee paid through payroll, right? So obviously, If we lock this function down, somebody else has to handle the function, or somebody else needs to go in and audit regularly through the second security feature, which is an audit trail. An audit trail is kind of a backline system safety feature that allows us to go in and review any changes made in the system and see if there were any changes made that are not authorized, or, you know, to a record that they shouldn't be part of. It's not necessarily a frontline reporting feature. It's kind of messy data, looks a little bit like code in the background, but it's there as a second security feature. BSC being one of our larger districts, we wouldn't want to have this on a permanent basis, to have either, number one, somebody else handle those responsibilities, or second, to have to go back in and review that data on a regular basis, just to make sure that nothing is amiss. That's the reality of what the workflow would be.
So you're good with that in a sense through till March?
Certainly willing to, you know, we're taking one of your really good employees, and we really appreciate it, so thank you for that. We're willing to work and flex with you during the interim period until you can make other arrangements.
Okay. Thank you, Joy. Any other questions? Okay, Jackie?
Is this going to be a really a big hardship?
A big hardship? It's time consuming. It would be simpler if it was like just press a button, look at a report. But that's not the way that audit trail feature works. It's not a significant hardship for an interim period. I wouldn't want to do it on a regular basis.
Okay.
And is it all right with you, Renee, to stay on until March?
So whenever you guys see.
All right.
To hold the election.
Okay.
So you can ask for a
Any
motion
other-
to accept the, after.
We won't
I'm sorry,
accept it. The resignation.
Till March, or, oh,
Right.
okay. Well, you
Are there
can
any
table it.
questions? If not, we'll, is there someone that wants to make a motion that we'll leave Renee on until March?
So moved.
I'll make a motion that we
you
leave
make
her
that.
on until March for the new election.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay,
Great. Thank you,
done.
Renee.
Thank you,
Joy.
Renee. Thank you,
Tim.
Joy. Joy, you're welcome to stay if you'd like to stay for the rest of the meeting.
He's kidding me. He knows.
Thank you, Tim.
Be at a meeting tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Corcoran.
We can go back to the agenda.
Where are we now?
Let's go to, I can do task list. right
Okay,
away.
we'll now go to task list from the last meeting. Superintendent.
Most of the items for the task list at the last meeting were related to the vote, making sure that we had CAT TV coverage, articles in the newspaper, that Rick wrote a column, that Rick would revise the brochure, that we had a letter that was signed by the board to go in, and that we made sure that the newspaper would carry the vote in more than one day as a feature, which they did. We also had the request to have Joy Cox come to answer questions about the internal controls of the HR manager while she's treasurer, so that we could come to some agreement about that election.
Catherine,
So
you
there's-
need to speak up. I can hardly hear you.
I'm sorry, also to have Joy Cox come to answer questions about internal control. Okay?
Any questions or comments on Catherine's report?
Nope.
Jackie?
No.
No? Okay.
We can move on to other finance items.
Do you want to do the consent agenda?
Well, you can do.
Treasurer's report, we got status.
of Molly Stark.
Okay, who's
Jerry's
going to
here.
get, Jerry, are you going to give us the status report on the Molly Stark project?
Give you a status report on the Molly Stark project. Yes, sir.
Okay, you're on.
As you see when you come in, the window, the security window was just installed today. It just came in, I think Friday, so they scheduled it with Don and everything to be able to put it in today, and it was just put in today. We have more wiring and stuff to do before we can take and put the security cameras and the fob system in, but we're moving along with that project. And as you saw, the walls and everything were
Very
put up.
nice.
I don't think you've seen that since before, so
Very nice.
that's where we're at. Any questions?
Just, yeah, quick questions. I know that it was a very tight timeline for those projects, and the majority of that work, I think, was gonna take place over the last break.
Yes.
How did we hit on our marks with that, with the contractor, and where are we as far as costs for the project? Or was it flat?
We're on
Flat bid.
schedule with what we had went out to bid for, as far as I can remember to recall on that. And most of the work, which the construction was during that week of vacation, because that was the worst to get done with all the traffic and everybody coming in and out and everything. And we're like I said, we had to hold out on the window because that was like a 4-week thing. But they were able to get the doors that they weren't sure if they would be able to get in time. And so they did a lot of work in a very short time. But like I say, we're moving ahead. The biggest is now is just getting the rest of the wiring done to finish the cameras and the fobs and that kind of system. But we're moving along with it.
Good.
And this is a flat bid, right? So any
Yeah,
overtures
no,
will be
it shouldn't
there.
unless we add something of this or that.
We're on budget,
We're on budget.
right? Any questions or comments from board members on it? All right,
Catherine, can I follow up?
go ahead. Sure.
So with the security system, we are hoping that we may have this up and running June 1st. What we'd like to do is give parents, students, community members a chance to sort of feel this out for a month before school gets out. In our current budget for next year, we budgeted for a position that would be out there. I met with Rick this week and we went over the Molly Stark budget. What we are asking, what I'm asking the board, if they would consider tonight to hire somebody from June 2nd through June 24th. We calculated that that would be 17 days at 7.5 hours a day at $12.95 per hour. And that would bring us with How many hours?
7.5 hours a day, $12.95 per hour, and it would be approximately 17 days from June 2nd to June 24th. We're figuring that that will run us approximately $2,500 for the remainder of this year, which can come out of the Molly Stark substitute teacher line. But what we would do is advertise for next year with this position beginning June 2nd of this year. So rather than advertising just for the 17 days, we would advertise it now. The position would start June 2nd, but for those 17 days, it would be paid out of this year's line item substitute. And we really did a lot of talking about this at Molly. We could wait until July 1, but people are excited about it. I think it gives a feeling of sort of immediacy that we're going to do this right away, but it also gets families used to it. Rather than coming back in the chaos of first day of school, what's the security system, parents are used to it. It's going to be a struggle come September anyways,
All right, questions from the board? Any questions from any member of the board pertaining to the request from Donna? If not, a motion, yes.
The money is there.
Money is there.
Sub-budget.
Money is there in the Molly Stark budget
For this year?
for this year, yes.
And when would it be advertised?
As soon as, if you gave us the okay, I would talk with Joy tomorrow.
If not, a motion would be in order.
That we allow Donna to advertise the position tomorrow for the 17 days in June.
Second.
The motion is.
Any discussion, any further discussion?
So with the
Yeah, his
position,
motion is to hire someone starting June 2nd. Start advertising now and hiring June 2nd, paying for it out of the sub.
Any further discussion from, any questions from any board member?
and then after you interview people, then that job would start July 1st?
No.
It would
June
really
2nd.
start June 2nd.
Oh,
It would start June 2nd, so we're really getting 17 days in this year and this year's budget.
And
the
then it would
person
go into
would-
the new budget.
Correct.
which
and
is
the
built
person
in.
would work over the summer?
Yeah, I need to figure that out with exactly, we put in this,
It's
the
a school
budget,
year with a few more
218 days, so we
days.
figured out.
Donna, I'm sure you already answered this, but is it the idea that whoever you applies and is a successful person would be the person that you would roll over
That's
to
correct. Yes.
starting in September,
July-
August,
well,
September, July?
for this fiscal
Any
year.
other comments or questions from the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Approved.
Very much
You're well, okay?
And who seconded it?
Yeah, there was a second.
Marie?
Do you want to go on to this policy?
Sure.
All right, we're kind of moving around a little bit because we're going to spend a considerable amount of time in executive session tonight on the evaluations of the administrators. But I'd like to go now to policy redistricting. Catherine? Gotta
As
speak
you
up,
remember,
Catherine.
yes, I'll try. As you remember, at your last meeting, you had a parent of an entering kindergarten student come and address the board about entry procedure that we had implemented when we had looked at the number of students and the distribution of that student population among the 3 schools for the fall. And the parent had a number of concerns about the procedure we were using, feeling that it was contrary to the intent of No Child Left Behind, that other states had passed procedures and policies to allow siblings to remain together, and that he felt that because of his own family number of students who were already attending Monument School, which was out of the school attendance zone, that his youngest daughter, who was entering kindergarten, should be allowed in. So in the interim, we had collected information from our screenings of entry-level students from all 3 schools. I had scheduled a meeting today to meet about those numbers so that we could compare the capacity and numbers of the distribution of the student population at the 3 schools to make a determination, had there been a transience, that would change the numbers and the capacity. In the meantime, we had an opinion from the new attorney at the Agency of Education that in the state of Vermont, the individual's concern about No Child Left Behind did not apply, and that there was no choice under No Child Left Behind, nor was there any guidance about keeping siblings together. We also, I also was alerted to a policy that you all have that I was not aware of. And I'm going to pass it out just so that you have it and know what it says about redistricting. So this is not assignment of pupils, it's redistricting policy. And it was put into place by your board, and Jean actually was here at the time. It was put in place by your board approved on Monday, October 6th in 2008. And it's a policy about how you will redistrict, which we did last year, coming into this year. And it just says, any redistricting shall be done in a way as to evenly distribute students among the operating schools, taking into account both physical space availability, equity in educational programs, while minimizing disruption to families and keeping siblings together. So this policy, just for your information, was never vetted through the Supervisory Union Policy Committee. So we can start to look at it in that procedural process, or procedure, in that procedure for inclusion on our website of policies. So I'll come back to you at a future meeting about this policy, but I'll make the policy committee aware of it as well, but we'll put it on your agenda for some discussion.
Jackie?
I was just going to mention that 3 meetings ago, we voted as a board, just before Jackie and Jean came on, that we would, we didn't want our class sizes to be any bigger than 20, so, especially in the kindergarten.
Right.
So that we weren't going to put any
Right.
things into.
Thank you, Jackie. Yeah. And it was true that Monument at the time of the initial assignments before the screenings was at 20.
Yeah.
And the physical capacity of that room is really 19. We squeezed a 19th student in this year. So in looking at that redistribution today at our meeting, we discovered that 4 students were no longer
Yeah.
going to be attending the Monument School in kindergarten. We also ended up with a move-in today to Monument School kindergarten. And then because our numbers were down and we were at 16 at that point, I went through the process again, and we did say that we would approve students to enter that kindergarten class to bring it to 17. So that approval was made, and I have 2 other approvals that I'll be following up at other schools, and 1 other at Monument. So 3 that are on my desk right now. And I'm using the same criteria that we used at the beginning: the capacity of the building, class size in terms of the numbers of students for that class, the distribution of the population among all 3 schools. And I'm also looking at the inclusion of disruption to family, which is in this policy, and carrying it into my procedures for how I'm looking at those, so.
You know, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think it might be a good idea for our board if we could get from the central office a policy book that each board member has with all of the policies in it.
It's online.
See what I'm saying?
George.
We used
Because,
to have that.
we
used to get that.
I know.
It's online.
Yeah, you can
But I
print it
mean,
out.
You want a print copy?
online is good if you get it, but online isn't any good if you don't
If
get
you
it.
can't
Some
get
of
it,
us are
okay.
getting it and some of us aren't getting it.
Okay.
So I'd like a hard copy of
Okay.
all the policies, and I'd like each board member to have one that we
Yes.
could bring with us to board meetings.
Right.
This would not have been in that policy.
No, I know that.
Yeah, because it was
Where did this-
embedded-
where did this come from?
It was embedded in the board packet for 2008.
And what made you find it?
So the parent that came found it, I think by doing an internet search and having it pop up.
He went through minutes, he had to, because it's not on the website,
It
the
is,
policies.
it is, no, it's not in the policy because it is not a policy that was vetted through the SU Policy Committee. He found it in the board packet
Yeah.
for the meeting prior to the October, so it would have been the September meeting of 2008.
And how do you get access to board packet?
So,
So-
okay, just,
I wanted to ask this, Catherine, and board members, are we having a problem with our computers, that some of us are getting things and some of us aren't getting things? Are we individually, is it our computers, or is there a breakdown somewhere in the system?
And what?
I'm getting information out of Central. Like they say, an email has been sent. Some of us are getting them and some of us are not getting them.
That actually
Well, right
happened
now,
to
we
me
have
this weekend.
2 people
Yeah.
emails.
I'll have,
They're not going in right.
I'll have the tech come and, you've received 2 emails from me occasionally, duplicates, because I go on and I don't see that it went, and I think it didn't, and so I send it again. I'll have a tech come and go through each of your computers if you want to bring them to the next meeting. You also can set up an appointment to come in and have them set up your computer to make sure, but I'll ask them to check the system again. Part of it is
How are you guys handle-
Outlook.
yeah,
Part
how
of
are
it
you-
is Outlook.
that, and how are you also, that's why I'm looking for the hard copies, because my computer at the house, it's not reliable enough, but how are we handling, like, board members' computers if they're running XP? How is that, because XP is at risk,
Oh,
because
I
they're not
see. Yes,
updating.
yes, yes,
But if
yes,
we're
yes.
logging into your network,
Yeah, let me have Frank come and talk about that.
what's gonna happen there? Because I know that
Yeah, that's an
at our
excellent
agency,
question.
you're gonna get bumped.
Yeah, we've closed down we've closed it down here, I believe that's me.
So I don't know if
Kathy's got
there's
that on the,
issues going on
task
there as
list.
well.
Yeah, that could be part of it.
Just going back, George, though, before you go on, so the redistricting, specifically looking at Monument, you said you had.
No, redistricting
Well, no,
is
no,
when-
you had
oh.
students coming in, you had 4 going out, 1 came in
Oh, yeah.
today,
That wasn't-
specifically
At Monument.
at Monument.
Which allowed a lower class size than what your target is, so I was able to make that approval. There
For-
was room for,
The one request that came through.
That
Or-
one request and another request at another grade level as well.
Okay.
And one out of Monument to another school in Bennington.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, two
Gotcha.
out. Two out.
Your grid here only reflects the present population?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep, you're
Any
welcome.
questions or comments pertaining to Catherine's items? Okay. Where would you like to go?
Finance, we need to, certainly you need to acknowledge the vote being a positive vote. And I know that you all are as pleased as I am about that vote. We thank everyone that came out to vote and
Yes.
also those that voted positively for that. It was a nice coincidence that it happened during Teacher Appreciation Week. We also have an item for under Finance D. You need to make a motion on the VHI agreement for medical and
And
dental
dental programs.
programs to give authorization to Rick Pembroke as Chief Financial Officer to sign on your behalf. And this will carry you through next year.
Just till next year.
Until, that's right. Are there any questions or comments pertaining to that item
Say
on
that
the
again. What is
agenda?
it specifically?
It's your health insurance
Yeah.
and dental insurance program through VHI, which is the group coverage.
My question is, are they going on the Vermont policy
No, not this year.
Yeah.
eventually?
They're grandfathered in right now, so,
That's a negotiation point, Jackie.
yeah, and it's also a negotiation point. But they're grandfathered in, there'll be, this will cover for the coming year, and you will want to stay because it is an advantage for you to stay in it for next year.
Any other questions or comments pertaining to that item?
I make the motion that we give Rick Pembroke, our Chief Financial Officer, permission to sign for us the contract with Beehive.
And I'll second it.
Any other further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? If not, it's approved.
Good, your last item is your consent agenda.
Consent agenda is the last item we'll have for the open meeting tonight. Any questions pertaining to the consent agenda?
Other than this, you know. some
Any
regret that
questions
we have-
on it?
Yeah.
Well, just, you know, some of the teachers' resignation and stuff, you know, with regret, I guess, that we have to take some of those.
With regret.
Yeah. It's
So the
unfortunate.
teacher resignations with regret is what Paul said,
All right.
and that can be in the minutes.
We'll need to get a motion on that consent agenda.
Motion to accept the consent agenda?
We
Second
need to make an amendment to the
To
motion
C.
to remove C.
Yeah.
To- yes, remove-
4C.
all right.
Thank you.
Remove C from the
4C.
consent agenda.
4C.
4C. Any other corrections, adjustments? You made a motion to accept?
Yes.
Someone second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Approved.
Thank you.
Any other business to be brought up at this particular time? As you know, this is an abbreviated meeting tonight because we have a rather long executive session. Are there any other items that should be brought up in open meeting? If not, I'm going to send around for your signature on the warrants. And after that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're right on
Executive
time.
All those in favor?
Yeah. Executive session.
George.
Executive session tonight will be for legal matters, teacher negotiations, and administrative evaluations.